Glad you could join us for our Easter Sunday worship and to hear today's reflection. Have you ever been kept in the dark? It's an expression we use to describe how we might feel when we're left out of the loop or we don't know what's going to happen next. It's not a nice feeling, as our mind can go in all sorts of directions, including some dark thoughts about, why have I been put in this situation? That's not good for anyone when that happens to us. And at the moment, with all the things that are even going on here in 2021, the government information about trying to cope with this COVID-19, we can still feel in the dark, as we haven't really a clue even what's going to happen next. Even with the lockdown easing that we've been promised, we're pretty much left in the dark. Even with all these instructions and the pathway that we've got, what's going to happen next? Now, I recall way back last year taking some comfort in those steely words the Queen brought to us in her reflection, specially done for this time. Can you believe it, over this year, where she said, "We will meet again." Well, truth be told, we are kind of still waiting, and there have been times when we have had the chance to meet, but it's not as family gatherings as we would know it. And what that might look like can even throw the calmest of us into a bit of a spin. So the Easter story is told by John, and we've been looking at John over these past few weeks in our readings. Today it does address that uncertainty. The day itself was a day of uncertainty. Indeed, when this story dropped through the letterbox of the first churches, it was an uncertain time. It was in effect a Christian lockdown. Christians were finding it harder and harder to work, to go shopping, to go to public places, worship, or even how to greet each other. They had to do that almost in secret. Sound familiar? It felt as if they were at the end of their times. That's probably why John wrote another book called Revelation. There seemed to be no let up. It was so bad that the only safe place they could worship was isolated away in the catacombs, underground Roman cemeteries. Imagine the setting. Reading this story for the first time, or a resurrection in a catacomb, worshipping amongst the dead, about a man who came back from the dead. The story they were listening to in those dark catacombs kicks off with that phrase, "while it was still dark." That's the starting point. Being in the dark. And that's where we are today. And some of us may even remain a wee bit fearful about what lies ahead. So why did the story start there? Well, John liked joining up the dots with the story of Jesus and how he understood the way the world had started. He recalled how the world was a dark place, lifeless. And Easter in the early hours was a dark, lifeless day. What on earth had happened, the disciples thought. But despite that, these women in our story head off before dawn, wondering what's going to happen next. And what I find remarkable is that these women set off in the dark, regardless of the outcome. There's no spoiler alert for them that this is all going to work out for good. Jesus is dead and a job needed to be done. And I find their resolute determination really humbling, driven by a determined habit of dedication, of dignity and devotion. They turn up not knowing how it was going to turn out. If you think it through, they actually probably decided the day before the intent of getting up early and to do what they needed to do as part of their duty. Imagine if they didn't go, had given up. I wonder what the Easter story would have been like then and how that would have turned out. Who knows? Certainly, their commitment puts them in a place of discovery. Their selfless act of dedicated love, a respect for another's dignity and devotion, to honour one so dear, puts them in a touching distance of the risen Jesus. And what they do is they choose life over death. They were committed. They didn't just put them in a place of discovery, it became personal. With Jesus there, mistaken as the gardener, he utters the words, Mary. And that just cuts through all, doesn't it? Mary. That personal aspect of a profound story must speak to us about being in that place of choosing life. It makes things personal. I recall one day as a healthcare chaplain at York Hill Children's Hospital, visiting children in the intensive care unit. It's quite critical at those times. There are a lot of busyness, a lot of attention required, certain protocols and priorities. And there's one particular child I'd been visiting regularly, and I'd got to know her, and but this particular day things were busy around the bed, and it didn't look like that I would get the chance to see her that day. And I was about to go, but this wee girl called out, Alistair. Those words, or that name, cut through the protocol, cut through all that they were doing. She wanted to speak to me, and all she uttered was my name. It became personal. That moment in that room was like life itself, and it spoke to me of that connecting point with another person. It became a different day for me. A day of discovery, a day that became personal. A day like the resurrection, where we all want to choose life. Well, can we explore this Easter day, shut away in our homes for some of us? Are we prepared to admit and embrace the uncertainty of our day and trust God? That's been practiced by Christians since the first Easter. Are we taking control of our thoughts, even the night before, so that what's within our power we do, and we resolve to do the next day? What fuels our determination? And how does that compare to these women in our Easter story? Are we like them, protective of other people's dignity? Are we like them, honouring those dear to us? Are we like them, determined to make a difference? Easter became a personal encounter. And maybe when we choose life, we create lots more personal encounters. Here's an easy way to maybe finish the day. Some people use PTL as praise the Lord. Let me suggest 3. Plan, trust and love. Plan your day, trust God for your day, and love those in your day. Let me repeat that. Plan your day, trust God for your day, and love those in your day. Make PTL part of your Easter day today, and then maybe you will be alive and not just live. And for me, that is Easter. Take care, and thanks for joining us.